Appalachian Horror. This story takes place in the early 1990s. I was 18 years old and started my new life as a college student. It was an exciting time to be away from home for the first time, and my best friend and I both committed to West Virginia University. We were ready to party like no tomorrow together. We weren't the brightest, and we're just going to college because that's what was expected of us. So, West Virginia University was the perfect fit. We chose to be in a quad room, meaning we would have two other roommates. Both were random, and this was a time before cell phones, so we wouldn't meet them until move-in day. Being from New Jersey, this was the furthest from home I would be, and the change from the New York City suburb to the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, would be shocking. Move-in day came, and my friend and I set up our room. Our first roommate joined us that day, and we all clicked really well. He was from a really small town in Western Virginia, and although we had almost completely different lives, this was someone you could tell would be a great friend. The next day, our other roommate came, and we all got to know each other. The story revolves around the first roommate from Virginia, so I'm going to focus on him. Throughout the semester, my best friend, the roommate, and I became a trio, and we would go out together all the time, and we all even shared the same friends. We really spent all our free time with each other. Things remained amazing for both semesters of our first year, and we really wanted to keep in touch over the summer break. My home friend and I were so intrigued by the third roommate's stories of his hometown that we all agreed to visit him for a week over the summer and to live with his family. When that time came, me and my friend hopped into my car and drove the roughly 12-hour trip to his house. About an hour after passing through the suburbs of DC, we realized how remote Western Virginia was. When we would stop for gas or to use the bathroom in these small towns, we felt like we were in an old Western movie. I have never seen so few people and so little urbanization. It was really eye-opening. We arrived at his house by dinner time, and when I tell you this town was small, I mean it. Each house was at least half a mile or more apart, and it took a 25-minute drive from his house to get to the center of town where all the stores and restaurants were. Honestly, although it was an extreme change from what I was used to, I pictured this trip being a relaxing one, removing me from the hustle of the East Coast. 3 days into our 6-day stay, our friend wanted to bring us hiking through the mountains. I was really excited, as I have been loving the outdoors here and really wanted to embrace nature. We started our hike at about 9 a.m., planning to eat our packed lunches around 11 and returned to his house by 5 in time to eat dinner at home before it started to get dark. Midway through the hike, a little after we ate lunch, I spotted a no trespassing sign in the middle of what seemed to be nowhere. I asked my friend about it, and he told us there was a house in there that everyone knew to keep away from. He told us that where we were hiking was designated as a park and therefore no one could live there. But this family had been here for so long that after refusing to move numerous times, the state just gave up. This was so intriguing to me, and I really wanted to see the house. My friend kept telling us it was dangerous because it was someone's property and they could shoot us if they saw us. The way he was telling us this, though, felt a little insincere, as if he didn't really think that was the problem. I interpreted this as him just thinking they wouldn't shoot us without warning us to leave the property first. So I begged and begged. After pulling the usual, "You only live once," or "We're best friends. We need to do this," we finally convinced him to lead us towards the house. We had walked for about 25 minutes when we noticed a clearing in the trees. My friend told us once we saw the house, we're going to stop because at this point, we were about 3 hours from any road in any direction, and it was really dangerous. If we would be seen, we started to whisper and walk slower, waiting for the house to appear. Suddenly, we hear a little scream, like a child when they're playing a game or happy. We froze and started to inch closer to the noise. Soon, we saw an old rustic house that looked like it should be condemned, with rusting metal tools and wheels in the front yard. And then we saw a little boy running in circles, laughing. We watched for about 5 minutes and noticed that the boy wasn't playing with anyone else. It was odd that he was playing this long and this intense by himself, but we didn't think too much about it. My home friend wanted to get closer, but even at this point, I felt scared. The friend from here told us it was really dangerous to get any closer and that we should start heading back now, as it was around 2 and we needed to stay on schedule. My home friend wouldn't budge. He said he wanted to see if other people were on the property and what they were doing. We agreed to stay at our distance, but moved to the side to get different angles of the house and hopefully see someone else. That's when we noticed a tall, heavy man walk out a side door and scream at the boy. Not a scolding scream, but like an animal scream. This was a sound I had never heard a human make before, and I couldn't even imagine what it meant. The boy screamed again in this animalistic howl and ran inside the house. We all looked at each other like, What the fuck did we just witness? Then, like out of a horror movie, another scream erupted, but this time behind us. We whipped around and saw a boy behind us, probably 12 or 13. We were caught. My heart started pounding so hard, I could feel it in my skull. Another scream came from the direction of the house, and we saw the tall man coming for us. He didn't have a gun, so we all felt he was about to scold us, not kill us. We decided to act lost and just ask for directions to town, and maybe he would go a little easy on us. When he got close enough to hear us, we all started pleading with him, telling him we needed to get home soon and asking if he could help us in any way. He just began trotting at us, and the boy behind us pushed my friend forward like he was telling us to move. We started to inch up, and the tall man started to walk back toward his house. We all assumed he wanted us to follow him. Now, we are a couple of yards from the house, and the whole family went outside to look at us. There were 2 very old women, 2 middle-aged women, and 1 middle-aged man. 3 young men, probably in their 20s, and like 8 kids. We could tell they were all related as they all had this sandy blonde hair and deep blue eyes. No one said a word to us. We were so scared and confused that we kept pleading, but they didn't even look like they understood us. The tall man from earlier throws us a makeshift plastic carton of water, and everyone starts making their way inside. We took this as him letting us know he wasn't mad at us, but it was time for us to go. We picked up the carton, and it was disgusting. The dirt on the clear white plastic stained it brown, and the water looked septic. As we turned our bodies to walk in the other direction, we all noticed 4 girls tending to plants behind the house. These girls weren't outside with the rest of the family staring at us, and I assumed they were workers there. I know that makes no sense, but they look nothing like everyone else, and I thought it was weird they didn't join the family before. They all had brown or black hair and were considerably paler than the family. As we continued walking into the woods, one of them yelled at us in incredibly broken English in the thickest hillbilly accent you could imagine.
"Don't come here no more. Daddy kill you."
We were shocked. This was the first time anyone tried to talk to us. We yelled back that we were sorry and ran into the woods. It was around 3:30 and we were terribly behind schedule. Our friend's mom would pick us up at 5, but there was no way we would get back to the road in time. During the whole walk back, we discussed what had just happened and how weird that entire affair was. We were all so baffled And the local friend interjected that growing up, there were always so many scary fables about that house and family. He said some people said they were here since the 1800s and have only ever interbred. And they're all like genetic horrors now. And others said they were cannibals. He told us he brushed all these stories off his tales. But we all agreed that the inbreeding one could be a real possibility. Finally, at almost 7 o'clock, we made it to the road where we see our friends' moms, dads, and brother's car. They were all in a circle talking, and when we greeted them, they said they were worried sick and were about to go looking for us. We apologized and got into the mom's car while she laid into us, screaming and crying. She told us how scared she was. My home friend apologized and told her how we got caught up at that house. Immediately, the whole car went silent, and the local friend looked at us like, "Why would you say that?" I thought he was mad because we admitted to trespassing, but now I know that would have been a godsend. His mother sternly said,
"You didn't speak to them, did you?"
At this point, we just told her the whole story, and she sat silently the whole time, not asking any questions, nothing. She told us we'd have to go home tomorrow, cutting our trip 2 days short, and that we seriously put ourselves in danger by doing what we did. The next morning, we packed up and got ready to leave after breakfast. The mood had visibly changed, and my friend barely spoke to us. I was still feeling a little cheated out of my vacation, wondering what we did that was so bad. We left a couple of hours later, and that was that. The next semester, we all decided to room together again, with the exception of the fourth roommate, which we tried for a new one. A couple of months into the semester, we were all drunk on a Saturday night and ended up talking about a memory from our summer get-together. With a lot of liquid courage, I brought up the event again and asked what we did that was so wrong. My friend tried to blow off answering, but my persistence and his inebriation finally gave us an answer. What he said changed me forever. Apparently, that family really had lived there since the 19th century, in that exact house. Soon, they got shunned for revoking their religion, and the town didn't really mingle with them anymore. This led to the start of their inbreeding. At first, they only wed cousins, but by the 1950s, when the state had claimed the whole area as a park, and this was the only family to remain for miles, the inbreeding got worse. The police did a few welfare checks on them in the 60s to confirm this, but there was really nothing they could do about it. In 1971, a local girl from the town went missing. After weeks of search and rescue turned up nothing, it was assumed she had died hiking in the woods. 8 years later, another school-age girl went missing. This time the sheriff's daughter. Again, after weeks of looking, nothing turned up. The police decided to go to this family's house and ask if they saw her. Being that they lived in the forest, it was thought that the girl got lost in. And to the sheriff's surprise, his daughter was there, living with the family. Apparently, the sheriff also recognized the first missing girl, who was now pregnant. This part is now all folklore, with no actual confirmation, but many of the locals believe it to be true. Apparently, the sheriff found out that the family was desperate for some outside breeding to help clean the gene pool and would kidnap young women and rape them. Luckily, the sheriff's daughter hadn't yet been impregnated, and the sheriff took her back on one condition. He had to allow the family to take young girls, mostly from other towns, and the sheriff would look the other way. Some people in the town believed that if they messed with the sheriff, that he would approve the kidnapping of their children. And because of this, many adults in the town appeased the sheriff's office at any expense. Since then, there have been reports of missing girls from other towns, but no one knows if they simply got lost in the Appalachians or really have been taken. This is why our friend's ma was so mad at us. She was worried we would mess up the relationship between the sheriff and the family, and somehow they would have to pay for it. I'm not sure if I believe any of this, and it still boggles my brain to this day. I just hope it's not true.